Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news, transfer news and reaction here on the United Stand 8 o'clock show as we discuss obviously the twists and turns with Gyokores. The odds are shortening for an Arsenal move, you can't deny that. Apparently he wants to go to Arsenal, apparently Man United are still in contact. Could this be a bit of a transfer nightmare for Amorim? We've been linked with Vlahovic in the last hour. Osimhen is still there. You can shift, you can pivot. Will we pivot? Do we need to pivot? We'll talk about that. We're also going to be talking about a few other areas. The goalkeeper as well, I think is very, very important. And I suppose as well, I said this on Twitter earlier, and I think it's something that we can certainly come back to. How many times are we going to hear over the coming days, weeks, months, and maybe season, we should have sold Bruno? When actually, I don't think that's a fair statement, and I think we should move on from that. So lots to get into on the show tonight. How are you all feeling? You know, sometimes the 8 o'clock show can be about a little bit of therapy. How are you all feeling? Because I've got people, you said this, you said that. I never said that. I never said that. You know, I've read your comments. I never said 99%. In fact, I said I'm not going to say 90% sure because I don't want to jinx this deal. What I said is I'd be very shocked if the Gyokores deal doesn't happen. And I still stand by that based on what I saw on Sunday. I still stand by that. But we can unpack all of that. I never said 99%. I never said 90%. I said I'd be shocked if it didn't happen. You ran away with that. Some of you are panicking too much. You need to fasten your seatbelts and remember what transfer windows can be like. They can be a bumpy ride. And since when do we all listen to Portuguese outlets? Have we had an update from Ornstein about Arsenal? No. David Ornstein has always been the Arsenal. And Romano's always been the Man United. And I know they cross over a little bit now, but have we heard anything from David Ornstein about Arsenal putting a bid in for Gyokores? No. So I think we need to calm down a little bit and unpack it. Before we get into all that though, let me just unpack this. Seamless. I'm so good. Today's show is sponsored by Boohoo Man. You can get 10% off with the code GOLDBRIDGE. It's there. Scan the QR code. Links in the description. What's Boohoo Man? Well, it's got you covered for all your clothing items. Fantastic discounts. And you can get 10% on top of any discounted item as well. Therefore, if something's 40% off, you can use the GOLDBRIDGE code on top and you'll still get the 10% as well. Fantastic. Delivered to your door. They've got t-shirts, they've got jumpers, they've got gym wear, they've got five-a-side wear, they've got Netflix and chill wear, they've got underwear, they've got the lot wear. And you can get it delivered to your door with an extra 10% off, exclusive to you with the code GOLDBRIDGE. So check that out on the website or scan the QR code. But because Boohoo Man are absolutely fantastic and they've worked with us for ages, they actually like to give us a little bit of relevancy. So can you guess this player? I don't want to see the name because I want to play as well. I was born on the 15th of May, 1981 in Dakar, Senegal. I began my professional career in 1998 with the Italian club Marcella, then moved to Monza before later playing for Nice. I know who it is. I rose to prominence at Monaco between 2002 and 2006, where I helped the team to reach the 2004 UEFA Champions League final. I joined United in 2006, making 379 appearances for the club and winning several major trophies, including 5 Premier Leagues and the 2008 Champions League. After leaving Man United, I went on to play for Juventus, Marseille and West Ham before retiring in 2019. I forgot he played for West Ham. And since retiring, I've been trained in mixed martial arts and made my debut in an event held in Paris on the 23rd of May this year. I also appeared as a contestant on Sidemen Inside Season 2 and famously once licked a chicken. It is, of course, Patrice Evra, legend of the club. Big shout out to Boo Man and Patrice Evra. Don't forget to check out with Goldbridge. 10% off. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much to Boohoo Man. Okay, a couple of comments from you before we fly in. It's not Nanny. Mike JW's in the chat with a super chat. Appreciate that, Mike. He says that Gyokores will tear up the Premier League. Mark my words. If he goes to Arsenal, we're utterly screwed because he is that good. Well, it's so funny, isn't it? Because last night we were talking about how Rio Ferdinand had said that there's nothing beyond his physicality. And people have legitimately been, you know, saying that. Now he's going to Arsenal, suddenly he's going to tear it up. Mike hasn't changed his opinion. I'm using it as an example. He was always going to tear it up in the Premier League, in my opinion. If he goes to Arsenal, fantastic. Why not go for both Gyokores and Osimhen, says Alonso. Right, let's just unpack where we are. I know I did a little video a couple of hours ago about this breaking news that Arsenal are in talks with Gyokores. Let's just unpack where we are, and then we can have our opinion. I actually am going to basically present the evidence, and then afterwards you tell me what you think. Maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident you are, and I'll tell you how confident I am. So, Let's start off with what Ben Jacobs said this morning. Gyokores has told his suitors, people who are interested, that he wants to wait and everyone has to inquire, and then he'll decide who to engage with after his holidays. He's still on holiday. That was from Ben Jacobs, so he wants to know who's interested and then he'll assess his options. That was from this morning. Then this afternoon, from Portuguese outlets, Gyokores' agent currently meeting with Arsenal officials. Arsenal is the club closest to submitting an official bid, and the player believes the Arsenal project matches his ambitions. Arsenal are about to make an official offer. That's from Portuguese reports. Then we had Fabrizio Romano saying that Manchester United last week, this weekend, and this week have inquired about Gyokores and want to be kept informed of any developments. So you've got 3 significant updates there in relation to what's going on with Manchester United. You've also got, in relation to Arsenal, that Berta wants to line up Sesko and Gyokores to the point that it's ready to go, and then they'll make their decision. So we've got all that information. We're sat here tonight. Some people are relaxed. Some people are panicking. You've also got Victor Osimhen, Vlahovic, even Jonathan David being linked to us now, as well as Mateta. So there are plan Ds, Cs, maybe even Bs if it's an Osimhen. I would just say calm down. How many transfer windows have we done over the years? We've panicked together, we've cried together, we've celebrated together. And I just think where we are at the moment, yes, Arsenal's odds are shortening with the bookies if you want to follow that. But Man United's odds are still really short as well. Fabrizio Romano is still saying that I think some people, like I said earlier, are acting like we're not in for Gyokores. Like it's just Arsenal. We are monitoring this. If we pull away from it, then we've got to look at ourselves. I have never had an issue with him choosing Arsenal over us. And at the weekend, Arsenal were going for Sesko. So Arsenal weren't in the equation. So when I say I'd be shocked if he doesn't sign for us, it would shock me if Arsenal signed Gyokores and Sesko. And I'm convinced they're signing Sesko. So I still haven't changed where I was on Sunday, and I still haven't changed where I am now. I'm not saying it's not going to change and go the way I don't want it to, but as of now, I don't actually see anything to panic about. Fabrizio Romano is saying that we're talking to Sporting. Ben Jacobs is basically saying that Man United are in for him as well, and obviously he's going to assess his options. Portuguese outlets who told us we were signing Gayton when we never even had a chat with him for about 4 years are saying that Gyokores is in talks with Arsenal. Has anybody ever thought that Sporting might be trying to bump that price up through the press? Di Marzio's a master of this in Italy. He's a master at the clubs he works with, leaking a bit of a story to help them move a player on. Maybe Sporting have had a word with the Portuguese press and said Arsenal are about to put a bid in because they know that they want to get the money that they want to get. I just think it's way too early at the moment. And look, I think the big thing for me is that there is another transfer expert out there called David Ornstein, who I think is very good at his job and will want to be the guy that breaks the striker story for Arsenal because of his connections with Arsenal. So that's where I'm looking at the moment. I'm not looking at the record. I'm not looking at Ebola. I'm not looking at Portuguese CNN. I'm looking at what Arsenal are going to do, because my information has always been that they prefer Sesko, and I can't see them buying both. So if they buy Sesko, they don't buy Gyokores, and we're back where we were. But I did say to you at the weekend, I don't have an issue if Gyokores prefers Arsenal over us. I don't know why anybody would. It's nice when a player wants to pick us over Newcastle or Arsenal, but at the end of the day, Arsenal with a striker could win the league next year. At the end of the day, Arsenal with a striker could win the Champions League next year. They got to the semi-finals. Don't blame the player. Don't blame Amorim. Blame the club. Manchester United are actually in a really, really bad position. So other than the name Manchester United and the Amorim pull, what else have we got? So I think we've got a great chance, but let's just see what happens with Arsenal. But I don't think anything's happened today, actually. I think that's the bottom thing I would say, and I want to read some of your comments. I don't think anything's happened today that's made me think any more about Arsenal getting him. As I said, Ben Jacobs said a week ago that Arsenal with Berta will line them both up, Sesko and Gyokores, and then they'll make the move. I still think that. I still think that. Emily Derry says, Gyokores is one of those signings that I would be over the moon if we pulled it off. I'm happy if we're in for him, but we'll understand. But I wouldn't lose my head if he went elsewhere. I think it's... what I would say, Emily, and thank you very much for your super chat, is... What I would say is that if we get him, I'm talking outside chance of top 5. If we don't get him, I think it's a reality bite. That's the difference between that. And I'd say the same about Osimhen as well. I think if you bring a quality striker in like Osimhen or Gyokores, and there is only those two, you bring one of those in and I start to dream about top 5. You don't bring them in, and regardless of Cunha and Mbeumo, I don't start thinking Man United can do that. So 100% it's the agent pushing the story. It suits him that United pay the lowest price, so he gets the biggest fee, says Reborn. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Literally a month ago, says Nick P, we would have laughed about signing Gyokores. We're back in that expectancy cycle again, thinking we can attract the big names based on the past. No football distorts minds. I think this is a great point, actually. This is a great point. We've only signed Cunha, and in our heads, we've signed Gyokores and Mbeumo. There's nothing wrong with that. Man United are pursuing Mbeumo and they are pursuing Gyokores. Absolutely a fact. But how many times do you actually get what you think? How many times do you get disappointed? And this is what I mean. People start going Wilcox madness, Ineos delivering, and they haven't delivered yet. They actually haven't delivered yet, have they? So we do have to have a little bit of patience. I think another great point is... that I haven't seen it yet, but I know it will happen. Let's say we get Cunha and Mbeumo, and then we're struggling. You know, Gyokores goes somewhere else. We're struggling. I think it's inevitable, especially from the people that wanted Bruno to go, that line will come out. We should have sold Bruno, because if you'd sold Bruno, it's £100 million, and you're not really worried about, you know, money. It probably will happen. It will probably happen after every bad game he has next season. We should have sold Bruno for £100 million. I said that at the time. We can't park it. We can't bury it. We can't ignore it. We were offered £100 million for Bruno Fernandes and we turned it down. So it will always be there for people to talk about. But as I said on X earlier, yeah, we could have took £100 million for Bruno Fernandes, but we also would have took £100 million if we turned up for the Europa League final. That's where it went wrong. If you want to talk about money, that's where it went wrong. I still haven't moved past that final. I don't know why any United fan has. I don't know why any United player has. I thought it was absolutely disgusting. I thought it was a disgusting performance against a Spurs side that have sacked their manager, that didn't even play that well. And that's the £100 million that matters, because that comes with the Champions League qualification on top. So, yeah, I'm sure we will start to see some people saying, well, you know, we should have sold Bruno, we should have sold Bruno. We should have turned up for the bloody final. That's what we should have done. And if we had done that, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because we would have the money. What's this I've just been sent here? I don't even know who that is. Sorry, let me just message that. Sorry, I've just been sent a message, which doesn't make any sense, but anyway. I agree with you. I responded the same on your X, says Jacob. And Slow Sports News says, this news with Gyokores' agent talking to Arsenal is a load of baloney. This is a ploy to push a sale. United obviously phoned and checked this, says Slow Sports News. And Mike JW has gifted a membership. Thank you very much. Patrice Everett says, I heard my name and came as ASAP. I love this game. And what did you see on Sunday? Come on, Witness Bridge. Almost Malone, I appreciate the try, but I've told you, until he signs for somebody else or signs us, I won't be telling you, because it's problematic. So I won't be telling you. I've told you about 4 times about that now. Patrick Lynch is a member. He says, speculation is the name of the game with United and transfers. Like you, Mark, I'll only take stuff seriously that I hear from either Ornstein or Romano. And I'm sure it's the agent stirring the pot to make United move, says Reborn. If Arsenal get him, it's a... it's a win-win. They get two great strikers, Gyokores and Sesko, and stop Man United's rival getting their target, says Wolfie35p. Thank you very much for that. I think that where I am with this, because I want to move on and talk about some other stuff actually, where I am with this is that I just think that I don't see why Gyokeres is making his mind up at the moment. I think this is something for the future. But was it not, and I'd have to bow down to your better knowledge here, was it not Fabrizio Romano who said on Monday we should know something more about Man United and Gyokeres in the next few days? So I don't know. I don't actually profess to know what's going on at the moment, but I don't believe a lot of what we're seeing at the moment. I mean, I was looking at the betting odds. I mean, I keep refreshing them anyway. You can't really learn a lot from them, but we are drifting to about evens, and Arsenal are down to 2-1 with a lot of people. They've come in massively. 2-1, 3-1. And you know what that says to me? The bookmakers basically follow shit news. Because Arsenal this morning were about 10-1 and Man United were odds on. And now we're almost at the same odds. And what's changed? A bit of Portuguese reports. So this is what I mean. You know, bookmakers hedge their bets, and that means that Man United are still in and Arsenal might be in as well. So look, if Arsenal weren't in for Sesko, I'd be worried. If they abandoned Sesko, I'd be worried. If they signed both, I'd be worried. But where we are at the moment, I'm quite relaxed. Worst case scenario, I want to talk about what would we do if this deal doesn't happen? Because we've missed out on Delap, we'd miss out on Gyokores, and suddenly the most important position in Amorim's rebuild becomes plan C, plan D. And that ain't good enough. I think that what we need to remember here is, and it says it in our title, Amorim's transfer nightmare. Forget Gyokores, forget Delap. It's irrelevant. Did Man United deliver them? And this is Amorim's first summer. Let's not forget, we didn't turn up in the Europa League final. It was humiliating. Let's not forget, he delivered our worst ever Premier League's points total by a long, long way. Humiliated from start to finish in his time at Man United so far. The summer transfer window turns up and he's looking to those people above and going, I came here on a promise. I've been humiliated and embarrassed. We're all staking everybody's reputation on this pre-season, this summer transfer window, and then progression next year. Who's my striker? And at the moment, you're going, well, you said Delap, he's gone to Chelsea. We went for Gyokores, he's gone to Arsenal or whatever. Where do we go next? And it's not a good look, because this is his first summer transfer window. And yeah, Cunha's good, and Mbeumo's good, but where's the bloody striker that's going to put the ball in the back of the net? And you know what? Could we do a deal for Osimhen? Because that's the only one that's going to satisfy you and me. If, and I'm talking ifs now, because we're talking hypotheticals, if Gyokores didn't happen, which it still can, very much so, if it didn't happen, it would have to be Osimhen, because beyond that, it's crap. It's a punt. It's a risk. I don't see Cunha as a risk. I don't see Mbeumo as a risk. I see them as good plan A signings. But you give me Vlahovic, who we've been linked to tonight, or Ramos from PSG, or Jonathan David, or Mateta. Strikers like this don't instill fear into the rest of our rivals. You know, you turn up at Stamford Bridge with Mateta up front or Jonathan David up front, they might be able to do a job, but they're not a threat in the same sense as a Victor Osimhen or a Victor Gyokores. So I think that obviously we're going to have to wait and see, and we're going to have to be patient. But if this did fall away, what was United's plan for the striker? Because it just seems a little bit like we've got to get to that point, and we are talking hypothetically, but this is not a position where we can just go, oh, let's wait till next summer. But it's also not, what worries me the most, and I should have said it at the start, is if you go and spend 50, 60 million on Mateta, or you go and spend 30, 40 million pounds on Vlahovic, or you go and spend, 30 million on a package for Jonathan David, none of them massively excite me. And they're all significant amounts of money as well, with high risk attached to them as well. What if they fail? What if they fail? So I just think that Manchester United can be relaxed. Manchester United can say they're not going to rush. But there has to be an element of urgency on a position as key as this. Let's not... I look at it like this. If United say we're calm and we're relaxed, and then you miss out on Osimhen and Gyokores, bullshit. Don't sit there and go, we're calm and relaxed. That's just pure PR. You can't be calm and relaxed when you miss out on strikers of that quality when you're as shit as we are, because we need quality. And it's not the same to get Mateta instead of Gyokores or Osimhen. So I think there needs to be, and hopefully there is, a realisation of that, because this is a key signing. This is, for me, the biggest signing. This is the player that, you have an aura. When Barcelona turn up and play RB Salzburg or whoever they play, and Lewandowski's up front, there's an aura. If Jonathan David's up front, it's not the same. And it's the same when Manchester City roll into town and Erling Haaland's up front. It's not the same if they're playing bloody De Bruyne as a false nine. Like, you've got Victor Osimhen up front, you've got Victor Gyokores up front. You're a different team. Automatically, mentality, you roll into town with players like that up front. Man United are a different proposition. And that's worth it. That's worth the cost. That's worth the 250 grand a week wages. That's worth the package. You can't look at everything from a financial position. If we don't need the cash, the new price tag shouldn't be a problem then, says Anders. And forget Gyokores, we need to sell De Ligt and buy Pogba, says Manchester Evening News. Don't believe Arsenal news. I think it's spin to get us to get a better deal, but Delap ahead of Gyokores is disgusting, moving to Manny soon. Can't wait, says Reflex. A few points in there, but thank you very much for your super chat. Jose says, transfer windows are always depressing. After many years, I can't rate many windows as a success. Take forever to get one deal. Can't sell Deadwood. Hardly ever get new players in pre-season, says Jose. It's definitely the agent talk since they won't hire the fees, says DV. And P. Don says, I have zero faith on United to get this done. I hope I'm provided wrong. I hope I'm proved wrong. I'm still annoyed with the final, says P. Don. Well, it's as Patrick said a few moments ago, isn't it? When there's no games to play, you just get locked in these stories like they are a game. Hitton says, both Gyokores and Sporting are willing to wait it out. This will be a longer than expected saga. My concern is the sales, which should be worked on meanwhile. Should we pull out of Mbeumo to get Gyokores, says Honk the Trumpets? And would you stop the deal for Mbeumo, says Raf, to go for Gyokores, or do you think it's essential for both? It's a good question. I think the answer is quite simple. United will not pull out of the Mbeumo deal because they are prioritising it. Why do I think they're prioritising it? I think they're prioritising it because it's an opportunity that presented itself that they wanted to get done because there was competition for it. I think they were expecting to get Delap. I think the striker situation with Man United is really weird. It is really weird. We're definitely in for Gyokores. We're definitely making phone calls. We're definitely trying to do the deal. But why it's not a priority, I suspect maybe more to do with what's going on at Sporting with Gyokores. And I think that if things moved, we would probably move. I don't believe we need to sell to buy. I just think that there's something going on between Sporting. Maybe Gyokores is hedging his bets and looking at options. But Mbeumo, I don't think moving off Mbeumo to Gyokores will speed the Gyokores deal up anyway. And then you run the risk of losing Mbeumo. So I think you've got to... With transfers, it's you go with what's moving, you go with what the priority is, and I think Mbeumo at the moment is a priority because it can be done. Would you Manchester Evening News say Frank is ready to hijack Mbeumo for Spurs, says Daniel Taylor? I mean, look, man's got to eat, men's got to eat, MEN's got to eat, and therefore they will just throw shit out that's not true. I mean, I doubt Thomas Frank has rang up the Manchester Evening News desk to tell them that he's going to hijack a deal for Mbeumo. And even if he did, I'd be laughing down the phone because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Mbeumo wants to come to Manchester United, so it will happen. If we miss out on I don't like it when I say it will happen, but what I'm saying is he chose us over Newcastle. Like, he wants to come to us. So Spurs can waive Thomas Frank and Champions League football, but that's not going to last. I give it a year. Good film, that. I give it a year. They won't be in the Champions League next year. This is a tour of the Champions League for Spurs. It's like having a look around a mansion that you can't buy. You know, they won't be there for long. I'm not saying we will. They beat us, but I mean, I don't see Spurs' future any better than Man United's future, to be honest with you. If we miss out on this deal, we have to go for Osman. Other targets on the level of him and Gyokores, says Nick. Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that. I would agree with that, because I think that we literally had this conversation on whatever night it was announced that Saudis weren't buying Osman. He is there. His dream is to play in the Premier League. It's not going to be the striker that Gyokores, that Amorim wants, but he's still there. Like, you can't not get either of them. Well, you can, but like, there's two options there, of course. Cause, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining and getting your badge in. We appreciate you. Welcome to the Members Club there. I'd get a stiffy if we went for Retui, says Barry. Okay. Nick P says, we're literally just watching TV through the window at Dixon's. We want all these names, and we're battling clubs with higher status than us now, says Nick. And do you think Mbeumo's a one-season wonder, says YT? No. And Emily Derry says, I reckon this dispute has probably been rumbling for a few weeks before it broke in the press. Otherwise, why is the president getting involved? And Ray Cowley says, watching behind, has the needle actually moved on any signings beyond monitoring or negotiating? Feels like a stalemate at the moment. And Cady says, I don't understand the push for Bryan Mbeumo. We have Bruno, Mount, Ahmad, Xerxes, who play as a 10. Surely we go for a striker and a CDM. Also, Ahmad will definitely be too small to play as a right wing back. And Bonk says, hi Mark, hope you're doing well. Our Sunday League team, Manchester United, has its first game soon and could use some advice. Cheers from Nebraska, says Bonk. Goldbridge ball, there's plenty of videos on it. Yes. Confidence on the ball, pass forward. If we don't need the cash, the new price tag shouldn't be a problem then. I've done that one from Anders. A few comments in there. Look, let's not be negative about the Mbeumo deal because you want Gyokores. Like, Mbeumo's going to be a good signing. I'm excited about it. The striker situation is going to cause a lot of talk. Look, I'll get proved wrong on this or I'll get proved right on this. I firmly believe that by the 10th of July, when we're back in pre-season, we'll have the striker, Mbeumo and Cunha. And that front three will then be part of pre-season. And I think that'll be a positive. Obviously, we know it's going to be a very big season for Manchester United next year, but I do think that will happen. I think that's part of the plan for that to happen. I think that obviously we know what happened in Bilbao. We lost. We know that we're not in the Champions League. And we know that weakens our position. But that doesn't mean we can't get business done. I've seen many a team over the years, and I think people forget this. I'm more worried about how much money we've got to spend. Because I've seen Man City when they were shite, and then they got money, and they were buying players. And I can't remember who they did buy, but they weren't in the Champions League, and they were buying players. I mean, didn't they get Robinho without Champions League football and people like that? Money talks. Money talks. Dirty cash, I want you. Dirty cash, I need you. Oh, what a song. Money talks. Chelsea had a year where they weren't in Europe at all. Still bought players. Liverpool had a year where they weren't in Europe. They nearly won the bloody league. Remember that league with Brendan Rodgers where Slippy G and Christian Bull? They had no Europe that season. No Europe at all. And they nearly won the bloody league. So, look, if you want to look through history, I've seen Chelsea have a very good season without Europe. I've seen Liverpool have a very good season without Europe. I've seen Man City have a very good season without Europe. And they all managed to get players in. And it worked for them. So, this is not the first time in history that a big club has not been in Europe at all and then, basically been in big trouble. This is why this summer transfer window is so big. You've got to show ambition because the big problem is, well, it's a big problem not being in Europe. Of course it is. But it becomes even bigger if you're not in it next year. I think it's going to hurt this year. But my experience of the Glazers is they spend money to try and get in the Champions League. The big problem with them is when you're in the Champions League, they don't spend money. So we should be spending money. I would expect it. Could we rely on Obi as plan B? God, no. Tocking. I mean, we're not. So what's your plan? Stick a 17-year-old up front from game one and play him for 90 minutes every game? Come on. Genuinely think we should be looking into more loans, says Jay. What loans? I want to shift the chat away from the transfers for attack. At the back needs a microscope. I'm the only one who thinks so. Anana plus others, says Ross. Oh, no, absolutely not, Ross. And I mean, I wanted to move on anyway. I think that I saw a post from Rashford today about saying it's good to be back and he's out there doing what he did a couple of years ago where he's running up that hill and getting fit and everything. Like, that's good to see. Marcus Rashford needs to be focused because England is shit, and he got picked in the England squad when he was at Villa. So the pathway to England is very clear that Tuchel likes him. He's got to play football. That's not going to be at Man United. Get yourself a move. Garnacho, he's on holiday in Italy. Argentina are playing games. There's a World Cup in America next year. Get yourself in it. Get yourself a move. But it is the 11th of June. And these players are on holiday at the moment, and they'll be assessing their options. Their agents will be working hard, but I'm confident that United are going to start moving some players on, but it may well be a little bit early for it as well. I would expect any time, and I mean any time, wink, wink, I would expect any time for it to start dropping about a bid for Garnacho or a bid for Anthony. I think those two players especially, I would expect any time something to start coming in from Romana or somebody else that, clubs have made a bid. Because those two players, you know what you're getting. And there is interest. And if I was a club that was looking at Anthony or Garnacho, I would be making my move. Because you might get in there quick and get something done. So I think those will happen. With Rashford, look, boring topic. Seems to be flirting for Barcelona, and Barcelona are looking at other things. So if he doesn't get Barcelona, he needs a plan B. Rashford needs a plan B. Much the same as if we don't get Gyokores, we need a bloody good plan B, and it needs to be Osimhen. But Rashford needs a plan B beyond Barcelona. But no, I completely agree with you, Ross. I think that the goalkeeper situation is a priority for many. We got linked to another goalkeeper today, didn't we? I can't remember the name of the person. Is it Nice's goalkeeper? So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know loads about him. Oh, great shot stopper. Yeah, great with his hands. And distributions, better than Amazon Prime. He's brilliant. So, yeah, I don't know. But look, a goalkeeper would make a big difference. My theory on the goalkeeper has always been that we will bring in a goalkeeper that Onana stays with. So maybe a Milinkovic-Savic, maybe the Nice goalkeeper, but a goalkeeper that's not quite the finished article, that might be capable to push Onana out, but doesn't come in with the status of an Emi Martinez or a ter Stegen or someone like that. I can see us going for a cheaper goalkeeper who has the potential to grow, which might, learn a driver, but it's a goalkeeper. It's not quite the same. Constantine says, have we got our priorities mixed up? Shouldn't it be a striker before wingers? I question how we do business. Constantine, I would love to jump on that and agree with you, but as I said before, I remember the summer where we bought Dan James first. I remember the summer where we bought Bailly before we bought Pogba, Zlatan and Mkhitaryan. I think there was a summer where we bought Lindelof first as well. We bought Mason Mount first as well. I think sometimes the way you do business you don't do it necessarily in priority order. You do it in, you know what it is? It's like getting home without sat-nav, or even with sat-nav when there's been a road closure. You still get to your destination, but maybe not the way you'd like to. So I think that with Cunha, we had to move quickly because if we'd left that, I think other clubs would have come in. So we knew the release clause. We spoke to the player. We did that in season. With Mbeumo, Newcastle make a move. You've got to make a move, because if you don't make a move, he's going to Newcastle. So I think that Gyokeres striker is more important than Cunha and Mbeumo. But with Cunha, release clause, let's make sure we get it done. With Mbeumo, let's get in there because Newcastle are competing. You can't put the handbrake on then, by the way. You can't go, Newcastle want Mbeumo. Well, if you put the handbrake on, he's going to Newcastle. So you've got to go in, and when you go in and you beat Newcastle, you then can't say to Brentford, yeah, we're going to wait now, because they're going to go, you're fucking not. We need the money in now. So I think that I'm not really stressed or worried about the order we're doing it in. I agree that the striker is the priority, but how many people have said that with Gyokores it'll be towards the end of the month? So if he's not going to make his mind up till the end of the month, you can't wait for then. This is a short transfer window. And also, I think that's a great point as well. You've only got a certain period of time. If you park Mbeumo till after you've done Gyokores, you might not get Gyokores done, if you do get it done, until 10th of July. And then you go to Mbeumo, you've just lost a month. So I actually quite like what we're doing at the moment. It's not, it may not be the order we want it to do, but we are being efficient with our time. DV says, Rashford to Barcelona would be an amazing move. Duplex, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining and getting your badge in of this great community. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for that. Richard Day, one of our members in the chat, says, I think we are buying in the right order because we have moaned about our strikers on a graveyard shift. The number 2 10s are the suppliers for the number 9. Well, they're essential signings, effectively, Richard. I agree. If we sell Garnacho and Anthony, is it possible to get Gyokores, Martinez, Esteban without breaking FFP, says Mirror FTW. I read something today, and I don't really want to do this. This is definitely not a transfer window story, but I read something today that Manchester United have done something with their financials where the money's actually being registered by another club, another company, and that's why we're not bad for financial fair play. It's probably another loophole for the Premier League. I've seen a load of fans rightly, non-United fans rightly moaning about it, but God only knows how we're affording everything. But the signs are, if we've got some money, we'll be okay. We're not looking risky for FFP or PSR as many people said we would, myself included. So I don't know. I think if we move some players on, we can certainly bring in, you know, I saw that Kieran Maguire saying today, don't look at Cunha as £62 million. Look at it spread across his contract and think of it as £1 million a month. You know, could we rely on? I've done that one from Talk. Thank you very much to Ross. Out of spite, we should have a chat with Sesko, says Caleb. Look. I don't know what Arsenal fans want. If you get Gyokores, I think he'll be a success. If you get Sesko, I think he'll be a success. I feel like they've been pursuing Sesko for at least 12 months from the stories I followed on That's Football and stuff. I know for a fact in January, I think I even tweeted it, that Arsenal were pushing hard to get him in January. That suggests to me, because Berta wasn't there as their director of football, that this is the striker that Arteta wants. So, you know, I think that, of course they might go for Gyokores. He might end up being a bit cheaper, but actually, I was thinking about this afternoon. It's got nothing to do with anything that's coming out from a journalist. If Leipzig want 80 million euros for Sesko, and Gyokores was going for, what was it going to be, 55 million euros, then Gyokores was cheaper, and that might be a reason. But from what we've heard today, Sporting want 80 million euros as well. So that puts Gyokores closer to Sesko's price, which again makes you think Arsenal will go for Sesko. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But if Arsenal get Gyokores, then where does Sesko go? Where does Osman go? You know, I still do think, like, why are Chelsea not involved as well? Well, Chelsea are trying to get Ekitike, aren't they? And if they don't get Ekitike, would they then go for somebody else? I think the striker market's weird, and we can't rush it as much as I think we should be rushing it, because I think there are people that can miss out on strikers and then pivot onto other ones. Can I get a shout out to my boy Caden, who is 9 tomorrow, and his little brother Logan, massive United fan, says Graham. Yep, shout out to Caden. Happy birthday tomorrow. Thanks for your support. Also, thanks to Josh Cunningham, who is our latest member in the chat. Thanks for getting your badge in, Josh, and joining our members club. Scraps says, with all the talk of attack, do you feel without including Onana, do you feel back the guys okay? Sorry, I really need to read this again. With all the talk of the attack, do you feel without including Onana, do you feel the back guys are okay? I think what you're trying to say there is, do you have concerns about the defence? I said it a few times last season. I actually think one of the success. I mean, you can't use the word success in last season. One of our best areas was the three centre backs. I thought De Ligt played very well at times. Maguire had some good games. Mazraoui played very well at times. Yoro came through and showed real quality. Heaven, although it wasn't many games, looked really promising as well. Martinez is still to come back. We don't need to go and buy a centre-back. We will do, but we don't need to prioritise it this summer. So I'm not worried about centre-back. Goalkeeper, yes, and yes. Ask me that question 3 times, 100% yes. We need to change something there, and it's a technical issue. I saw somebody the other day saying with more confidence Onana can sort it out. It's not confidence. Unless he's going on a crash course on goalkeeping and reading books about goalkeeping all summer, he needs to learn so much to not be a liability. So yeah, of course I would love to change the goalkeeper. Steve Wynyard says, Chelsea have not been breaking the FFP rules, but bending the spirit of the FFP rules for years. Why shouldn't we? Yeah, 100%. Talent Scout says, wouldn't Amorim be in the know of the agreement between Gyokores and Sporting? United probably knew this all along, says Talent Scout. I think Amorim is the unwritten word in this whole saga. Either Amorim will be the reason Gyokores prioritises a move to Manchester United, or Amorim won't be the reason he prioritises a move to Manchester United. I think this is the key. I wouldn't expect United to have a cat and house chance if we didn't have Amorim. He's got to sell an exciting project in the Premier League at a club that's bigger than Arsenal. Arsenal's a fantastic club. I hope they win the league next year because we're not going to win it, and it'll be Liverpool, Arsenal or Man City. So I hope Arsenal win the league. But we're a bigger club than Arsenal. I don't do that in an antagonistic way. Arsenal are better than us, of course they are, but we're a bigger club. You've got to sell that project, and you've got to say, look what we did together at Sporting. I saw somebody today have a list of the last 10 top scorers over the last 10 seasons, and there was players like Darwin Núñez, that Vinicius, somebody else, and they were saying this is why we shouldn't sign Gyokores. And I thought, what a big load of bollocks. So if Cristiano Ronaldo at 26 goes and plays in the Greek league and scores 50 goals, would you look at the last 10 Greek top scorers and say he must be shit? It's just the worst analysis I've ever bloody seen. What's that got to do with the price of bread? How can you compare him to all the other strikers in different teams, in different leagues? You either look at the player and realise this is why top clubs want him, or you just say he's just another crappy striker from a Portuguese league. But why are Arsenal in talks with him? Why did the Saudis want him? Why are Juventus in for him? Because he's a good player. Look, if he goes to Arsenal, I think they'll win the league. But I think that might happen with Sesko as well. If he comes to Manchester United, it gives us a chance of having a better season than I thought possible. But I think Amorim is the key to this, and it probably doesn't get mentioned enough. I see a lot of talks. I see Man United are in contact with Sporting. I see, a lot of things. But the big thing for me is, what's the Amorim pull with Gyokores? How good is that relationship? Because people have mentioned Thomas Frank and Mbeumo. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. It doesn't always, and that's my point. It doesn't always work. Thomas Frank is not going to pull Mbeumo out of a deal with Man United to go to Spurs, even though Mbeumo probably loves Thomas Frank. Can Amorim do this? It's a tough ask, but let's see. Is Marco Alcaraz a reliable United reporter? He gave an Mbeumo update, but no, I should trust him. I'm getting annoyed of how silent the deal is. I've never heard of them, Luke. So, as somebody who's been doing this for 10 years, I've never heard of that person as a reliable source, to be honest with you. So, I don't want to say anything bad, but I've never heard of them. Man City is killing it this window, says Slow Sport. Oh, don't get me started on City. Nipan's going there, Cherky's going there, Reinders is going there, £150 million spent in January. And what's the Premier League doing? Looking the other way. It's a joke. Absolute joke. But it is a joke. I'm not saying Man City are guilty. What I'm saying is, if Man City get off with it, we're idiots. Liverpool are idiots. Arsenal are idiots because they have basically exploited a rule that was never bloody valid and had a 10-year head start. Honk says, are we even allowed to buy the Nice goalkeeper? Yeah, I think we are now. It was Todibo last year. Yeah, we would be able to now, yeah. Yeah, we'd be fine. James says, evening, Mark. We're staying informed on Gyokores, but if Arsenal move first, is it a concern that we can't respond as we need slow sales to fund it? Oh, so you're basically saying that if Arsenal make a move now, we can't make a move because we haven't got the money. Well, more foolers then. I mean, the striker is the most important position. You can't sit there. Look, you can't sit there in the middle of June and say, we're interested, but not till July. Like, you can't do that with your most important position. You've got to have a contingency plan. Can Big Ange say happy birthday to my wife, Elizabeth? We love the United stand, says Boy Wonder. Oh, you want me to do Big Ange? Oh, I don't know. At the end of the day, happy birthday to Elizabeth. I hope you're having a great day. I'm not. I've been sacked, even though I beat Man United in the final, and that was out Kulusevski and Bergvall and the lads. The boys did well. I said I'd win 2 trophies in 2 years, and I did. And that bastard Levy sucked me. Sacked me. He didn't suck me. Happy birthday to Elizabeth. Off topic, but how are City able to sign 4 players with the 115 makes United owners look like prats, says Nick. Should we target James Trafford from Burnley, says DV. Just became a dad and the wee red already watching, says Jordan Walsh. Well, congratulations to you and your other half, and welcome to the world of being a red. Thank you very much for that. Great news. Hassan, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining and getting your badge in. Carlo says, Anana needs to read the book, How Not to Be a Statue for Dummies. In case that doesn't help, Jimbo could sell him to Nice for 25 million. And Mohit says, in any world, United can consider signing both Gyokores and Osman, and we started good, but again, we are slow in the transfer markets. Nah, mate, I don't know. Absolutely. I don't think Arsenal can sign Sesko and Gyokores. We definitely can't sign Osman and Gyokores. And why would you? Why would you? How would that even work? We only play with 1 striker. No. We do need 2 strikers, but you can't have people like that. That wouldn't work. Our defence is terrible and somehow create too many easy chances for every team. Need to replace Lindelof and Evans too. Sure, maybe as well, says MV Pete. Why don't Man United consider Kepa as a good sub-keeper? Because crap. I can't stand Kepa. I really don't rate Kepa. I think he's crap. I know he did all right for Bournemouth, but let Arsenal have him. Ray says, could Saudi just roll up and pay 80 million and press home any uncertainty? Of course, Gyokores may not want to go. He doesn't want to go to Saudi, Ray. I think if he wanted to go to Saudi, forget about it. Forget about it. No, he doesn't want to go to Saudi. So I wouldn't worry about that. Scott says, could you sum up the recent Gyokores news? I mean, I can. I don't know whether the chat will thank everybody. Get some of your questions in anyway. I want to do some bit of Q&A towards the end of the video. James E, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Appreciate that. Yeah, just very quickly while the questions start to come in then. With Gyokores today, Ben Jacobs said this morning on the Football Terrace, which is Terry's channel, that Gyokores wants to, on holiday, everybody to, express their interest, then he'll choose where he wants to go next. Then this afternoon, we had Fabrizio Romano saying that Man United asked Sporting to be kept informed last week, this weekend, and this week. And then early evening, we had Portuguese reports saying that Arsenal are in talks with his agent and that Gyokores favours a move to Arsenal. That's basically where we're at. What we also know is that Arsenal under Berta are lining up 2 deals, Sesko and Gyokores at the same time, and they'll pounce on 1. So that's sort of where we are. And as I said, tomorrow morning it could be a different story. Yeah, the odds on a move to Arsenal are shortening. You can't deny that. But tomorrow it could be something completely different. I feel like there will be a big update at some point from David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano, and that will be the definitive change. But until that happens, I still say what I said on Sunday. I'll be very shocked if he doesn't sign for Manchester United. But obviously, things can change. Prepared to be shocked. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But what I will say is, if United don't manage to get this home, I really do hope that we're talking to Victor Osimhen, because we cannot, I cannot overstate what I'm about to say. I like the signing of Cunha. I like what we're doing with Mbeumo. I agree the centre-backs are fine. We have to do something with the goalkeeper. And the midfield, we might have to just make do, even though I'd rather have sold Bruno and rebuilt the midfield. But, I mean, imagine if we'd sold Bruno and spent £80 million on Wharton. But what I'm saying is, most importantly, is the striker situation. It's the number one priority. There's no point drifting your mind to what's happening in the midfield, what's happening in the goal. Striker's the priority. You give me Osimhen or Gyokores, and I say to you, we can dare to dream. It's not impossible when you look at the Brendan Rodgers season with Liverpool and what Chelsea did when they weren't in Europe. It's not impossible to say top 5 if we get a striker of that quality. If we don't get Gyokores or Osimhen, I don't see us being in the top 6. I think the change will be too big. I can't see a striker that's going to come in and score that volume of goals. But if we get Gyokores or Osimhen, I think it could pitch us into the top 5, maybe. There's a chance. It's worth the money. It's worth the money. Thank you very much for that. Could we get Osimhen for cheap if Garnacho swap deals, says Elliot? We can't do a swap deal for Garnacho. I keep telling you this. There'll be no book value. I get confused explaining it myself, but if you swap Garnacho for Osimhen, the value of pure profit disappears completely because it doesn't get registered on the book as pure profit, because that's not how a swap deal works. So you'd have to sell Garnacho to Napoli for a fee and then use that fee to buy Osimhen, but I don't think UEFA would fall for that. So I don't think Garnacho Napoli swap Osimhen is really ever going to work for us like that. We'd be better off selling him to Villa for 50 million and then buying him from Napoli. Taha says maybe we need to start thinking if we even deserve. Oh, I tell you what. What's this thing? I don't know whether this is a myth, right? I was looking at Onana's book value now, and it's 25 million. And I was looking at what it will be after July the 1st, and it said still 25 million. And then it said next summer it goes down to 17 million. But there's people out there saying that after July the 1st you're into another year, so it comes down to 17 million on July the 1st. But I can find no evidence of that. And I spent about half an hour supping a cup of tea reading that, and I can't find anywhere where that's written. I'm not saying it's wrong, but there are people out there saying that Onana's book value goes from 25 million on June the 30th to 17 million on July the 1st. But I can't find anything about that. And remember, we signed Onana on July the 30th or something like that. Or I don't know when we signed him. So I don't know whether that's true. I don't know who's put that out there, because people talk about it all the time. But I don't think it does change in the middle of the summer. I think it changes each summer transfer window. Because if it did, that's a big difference between selling him at the end of June and at the start of July. But, maybe I'm wrong on that. A bit irrelevant, but would you do a boxing fight, says William? Against who? Onana is worth less than Donny van der Beek, says Parker. Ray Cowley says, okay, Arsenal are in talks, as we are, but what is the likelihood could actually sign him as we did that and Arsenal contemplate, says Ray. When do you expect the first major sale, says Ranyik Reds? As I said to you a few minutes ago, I really do think at any point in the next week or so, we could get bid for Garnacho, bid for Anthony. It's not going to happen with Rashford, I don't think, but I think with those two players, it could happen really, really soon. Malmo66 says, Ferdinand says he doesn't rate Victor Gyokeres, sign him ASAP. Yeah, I mean, that's a good theory in life, really. Do the opposite of Rio. Is there anyone else other than Gyokores and Osimhen, says Shahin? Yeah, I mean, Jonathan David's not signed for anybody yet. I don't think we'll go for him. Vlahovic hasn't signed for anybody yet. I wouldn't like that deal. Mateta is a possible. Look, I like Mateta, but it's a big drop. Look, I don't think Mateta gets us in the top 5. I think Osimhen or Gyokores, maybe they do. So, and ultimately, plan A becomes plan C, isn't it? Ross says, so we're clear on Onana. So here's another opposite question. What type of striker will work behind Amorim and Bruno, Osimhen, Gyokores? What type of striker will work behind Amorim and Bruno, Osimhen, Gyokores, or Højlund? I don't know what that means, Ross. What striker would suit Amorim's system best? Gyokores, because he's played it. Taha says, maybe we need to start thinking if we even deserve Gyokores with the season we had. Maybe we should just focus on a number 9 that plays in the Premier League. Yeah, but that's not how life works, mate. You know, we don't deserve to get a striker like Gyokores, but if we can, you grab it with both hands. You know, if you're hungry and you're walking past a nice restaurant and the owner comes out and says, I'd like to give you a 3-course meal, are you going to sit there and say, oh, I haven't had a wash, I don't really deserve it? You're going to walk in and go, yes, thank you very please. Thank you very much. Can't even get the words out. I'm so excited. Could we get Osimhen for cheap? If Ganacho had done that one from Elliot as well. What about Ollie Watkins? I don't want to upset people at the end of the show, but I've always said I would take Ollie Watkins. I would take Ollie Watkins. Obviously, I agree it's a plan C, but I would take Ollie Watkins, yes. I know the chat's going to go mad, but we're talking if we don't get Gyokores, if we don't get Osimhen, we haven't got Delap, I would take Ollie Watkins, yes. I think he'd score goals. I think part of me would take him over. I'd take him over Mateta, actually. Yeah, I would. I'd take Watkins over Mateta. I know I'm in the minority, but I would. I think people underestimate him. CJ says, Arsenal interest will make us go up a gear in talks, hopefully. Even amongst the gentleman agreement saga, we needed clarity so we can get a 9 for pre-season, says CJ. You said you'd tell us what your percentage is on us signing Gyokores. Yeah, good night, everyone. See you tomorrow. No, I will do. Lee Berman says, I strongly believe we have the funds for Gyokores, but we've stuttered because of the lack of the gentleman's agreement, says Lee. P. Don says, what about Pratthurst in a boxing fight? Oh, it wouldn't be fair. It would not be fair. Come on. Come on. It's not fair. It'd be too easy. Put someone else in as well. Battle of the Journalists. What's my percentage on us signing Gyokores? Okay. What was the last hotometer? Can I get it up? Don't forget to check out Boohoo Man. 10% off with the code Goldbridge on top of anything they've got on sale in their site anyway. So, last hotometer was this on the 7th of June. So, last week. It needs updating. We update it every week. So, last hotometer, we had Gyokores as a 6. I'll tell you what, if we sign Estebanan, Ben Jacobs has pulled a worldie off there. I'd look at Samu, says Smoggy Monster. Nearly ended up at Chelsea. Did Alvaro go to Madrid in the end? Could do with the sell-on. I haven't heard whether he's gone yet, but he will. So 60% chance that we sign Gyokores. That was before Sunday, wasn't it? No, I'm going to go 9. No, I'm not really going to go 9. I'll go 7. I will move it up because that's... If I say 6, that's ignoring everything that's happened since Sunday and dropping it down. I'm going to... I think where we're at is where we're at. I still think 7, maybe 8, but I'd say 7 because I actually don't think today has changed anything for me. Obviously, I've seen the same news that you've seen. I'm calm about it. And in reality, the big, most reliable update is that we spoke to Sporting last week, we spoke to them at the weekend, and we spoke to them this week. So I am convinced that Gyokores is interested in us, and if we're talking... No, I'm still going to go 7. Still going to go 7. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stick with that. Great show tonight, everybody. Really enjoying the 8 o'clock shows. This is where the hardcore reside. And you're absolutely fantastic again. Really, really enjoyed it. So tomorrow, morning show at 8 o'clock. No, 10 o'clock. Evening show at 8 o'clock. Afternoon show at 2 o'clock. Let's see what tomorrow brings. I would like to get Mbeumo moving. We don't need to wait for the window to open again, by the way. We can still get a here we go. So I would like to start seeing... What I don't want to see, and we have seen it over the years, is like if I, last Monday night, not the Monday that's just gone, the Monday I was in New York, and Terry did the 8 o'clock show, and from that Monday to the Wednesday, it felt like it was never going to stop. You know what I mean? For 2 days, it was just like pop, 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 stories everywhere. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I've played the game. I knew that would die down. And I also know that what happens with United sometimes is you go, it's only the 11th of June, and then you go, it's the 1st of July, and we've done nothing since the 11th of June. So I don't want to see that happen, because things can move so quickly in 48 hours on multiple deals, but we also have the experience that nothing can happen for 3 weeks. That can't happen. We have got a lot to do this summer transfer window. We're not like some clubs who only need to do 1 or 2 deals. We need to do about 10 to 15. So let's get moving. That's what I would say. United Stand Ultras, says Swami. Carlo says, I would say 50%. Either we sign him or we don't. Fair play. Why didn't we at least try for Wirtz, says Devon. Yeah. Why didn't we try for Wirtz? We've got 150 million euros. We're a better proposition than Liverpool. 100%. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Take care. And I'll speak to you tomorrow. Unless anything happens tonight. I don't get the feeling it will, but if it does, we'll be there. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Speak to you on in a bit. Oh, and thanks to everybody who watched my New York video, by the way. I'm trying to get that video, that channel up and running again this year. So I appreciate that. Thanks for watching it. Speak to you in a bit.